Decoding the science of crude oil. What?
Da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da. There's something strange in the refinery. Woo! Who are you gonna call? Oil busters! See this stuff? It's crude oil. You know, the hydrocarbon liquids from ancient decomposed life? It's not worth much like this other than greasing the axle of your covered wagon.
So it makes you wonder, how can we use science, technology, engineering, and math to turn that worthless crude into the transportation fuels that make our modern lives possible?
Well, you won't have to wonder for long. See these? They're 2 science investigation passes into one of the most sophisticated oil refineries in the nation. And with your help, we're going to decode the science of turning this gunk into transportation fuels.
While they go figure out how they turn that crude oil into transportation fuel at the refinery, let's bring up some online science about crude oil to figure out where that gunk even comes from. Origin of crude oil.
Where does crude oil come from? Critical question.
How is crude oil formed?
What's crude oil made from?
Critical question.
Whoa, so much for the misconception that it's made from decomposed dinosaurs or ancient forests. In fact, it wasn't formed on land at all. It was formed in marine environments a long, long time ago. Looks like we need to go microscopic here. What? Oil from those little things? You're kidding. Hundreds of millions of years ago, ancient seas began teeming with life. Some of the most abundant made up the base of the ancient food pyramid: algae and zooplankton. Like all life, these little critters eventually died and their tiny bodies settled to the bottom of the sea, where many were covered by sediments washed in from the land masses. One of the keys to these little guys eventually becoming oil is being trapped in a sediment layer. This layer also had to be free from oxygen, you know, anaerobic. As more accumulating sediment layers buried them deeper, pressure and heat essentially cooked their organic matter into hydrocarbons. Ta-da! Crude oil. Of course, you can't just drill for it anywhere. Geologists need to know where it has accumulated in a reservoir. As increasing sediments bury and compress the mud and sand containing the organic stuff, the trapped fluids, including hydrocarbons, get squeezed out. They migrate or flow upward through the interconnected pore spaces in the sediments. They call that porosity. Eventually, they can't flow upward past impermeable layers of rock, such as rock salt or anhydrite. And if geologic conditions are right, they get trapped in a section of porous rock. And that's your reservoir. And there you have it, crude oil. Now, depending on where you find it, crude can vary in color and viscosity, from a watery yellow to a syrupy green to a jet black that's as thick as milkshake. But turning all those different types of crudes into the refined oil we use today takes some serious science and technology. Fortunately for us, that's exactly what they're doing down there.
Now that you know where crude oil comes from...
I'm pretty sure they said it comes from those pipeline connections over there.
All right. As I was saying, now that you know how crude oil was formed, let's figure out how this place refines it into the jet fuel in our planes, the asphalt on our streets, and even the gas in our tanks.
I think we should get some answers from some real experts. Take a second to make a list of 4 things in life that you wouldn't want to live without. Then cross off the things that weren't made from or by using hydrocarbons in some way. Got any left? Didn't think so. So yeah, I think we can all agree that we need refined hydrocarbons in our lives.
So before we can make your batch of gasoline, we need a feedstock. We start with crude oil. Most of the crude oil that we process here comes from either Canada or North Dakota. Crude oil consists of hydrocarbons, and they can be as small as 1 carbon atom with 4 hydrogens, or they could be 20 to 30 to 40 carbon atoms with hydrogens. So depending on where you get your crude oil, that determines the different composition of hydrocarbon chains in the crude.
Do you have enough gas in your tank?
No worries. We're about to fire up that distillation tower and begin making a fresh batch. There's more science here to discover than you imagine.
If you want to find out more about the science in refining crude oil, go to intotheoutdoors.org.